The Galactic Concordance gathered inside the huge crystal spire that floated above the peaceful world of Aloria. Bright light bounced off the clear walls and made every seat look like it glowed. Delegates from more than 300 species sat in rows that curved upward like a giant bowl. Some had scales that shimmered green and blue. Others had soft fur or feathers in bright colors. A few floated in tanks filled with liquid or hovered on small machines because their bodies could not walk on solid ground. At the center stood Ambassador Vexlara from the Lirathi people. Her body was made of clear crystal that changed color when she spoke. Today her crystal skin shone pale blue, which meant calm and serious. She raised one long, thin arm, and the room became quiet. "Honored members of the Concordance," she began in a smooth, clear voice. "Today we discuss an important matter for the safety of all. We speak about the species called humans." Many soft murmurs moved through the crowd like wind over water. Humans had joined the galaxy only 60 years earlier. Before that, no one knew they existed. Now their ships traveled between stars, and their people walked on many worlds. Some delegates liked humans. Others feared them. Vexlara waited until the whispers stopped. Then she continued. "Humans are young in our community. Their bodies break easily compared to many of us. Their minds often choose war over peace. Their homeworld Earth produces dangers that even they struggle to control." She touched a small crystal on her wrist, and bright pictures appeared in the air above everyone. The pictures showed old human wars with fire and smoke. They showed tall buildings falling down after huge attacks. They showed sickness spreading fast across crowded cities. They showed machines exploding on factory floors. Said, "Humans need help to stay safe. They need protection from their own actions. They need protection from dangers in the wide galaxy that they do not yet understand. Because of this, the Protectorate Initiative asks for your support. We propose full guardianship over humanity. Their planet will have our watch stations in permanent orbit. Their armed ships will stay only inside their own star system. All travel beyond their borders will need approval from this council. Their leaders will report important decisions to us. This is not punishment. This is care. This is kindness. We offer our wisdom to a young species before tragedy strikes again." Most delegates nodded slowly. The tall, insect-like beings from the outer rim clicked their mouthparts in agreement. The bird people with sharp beaks tilted their heads and made soft, approving sounds. Even some of the gentle plant-based species waved their leaves in support. A few meat-eating species in the back rows smiled, with many sharp teeth. They liked the idea of weak humans kept under tight control. In one lower row sat Ambassador Elena Voss from Earth. She wore a plain dark gray uniform with no bright decorations. No glowing jewels hung from her neck. No fancy cape covered her shoulders. Her hair was cut short and practical. Her face showed lines from years of hard work and little sleep. She looked small among the tall, strange beings around her. Yet when she sat straight, everyone could feel her presence. She listened to every word Vexlara spoke. She watched every picture that floated in the air. She saw how the images were chosen to show only the worst moments of human history. She noticed that no pictures showed humans building schools or hospitals. No images showed humans risking their lives to save others. No records appeared of humans crossing empty space to help strangers. Elena kept her hands folded in her lap. Her face stayed calm. Inside her mind worked fast. When Vexlara finished speaking, and the last echo of her voice faded, a heavy silence filled the chamber. Many eyes turned toward the human seat. They waited for anger or loud protest. They expected shouting or tears. Humans were known to show strong feelings. Instead, Elena stood slowly. She stepped forward until bright light fell full on her face. Every delegate could see her clearly. She looked at Vexlara first. Then she turned her gaze across the whole huge room. She spoke in a quiet, steady voice that carried to every corner without effort. "Protection," she said. "From who?" The question hung in the air like smoke. No one moved. No one spoke. Vexlara blinked many tiny crystal eyelids at once. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Each other with wide eyes or stiff necks. A low, uneasy sound rose from different parts of the chamber. Some delegates shifted in their seats. Others leaned forward as if they had not heard correctly. Elena waited. She did not raise her voice. She did not move her hands. She simply stood there and let the silence grow heavier. Finally, Vexlara found her words again. "From yourselves, Ambassador," she answered. "Your history shows endless conflict. Your people fight over small things and large things. You damage your own world. You create weapons that can destroy whole cities. We only wish to stop the next disaster before it begins." Elena nodded once as if she understood. Then she spoke again. "My people lived through frozen ages when ice covered half the planet. We survived huge mountains spitting fire and ash that blocked the sun for years. Giant rocks from space fell on us and wiped away most life. Disease came many times and killed millions. We faced all of it without any council to watch over us. We climbed out of mud and built cities. We looked at the stars and decided to reach them. We did this on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We never asked for guardians then. We do not ask for them now." A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. Some delegates made notes on glowing pads. Others whispered to their neighbors. Elena kept her eyes on Vexlara. "You speak of kindness," she said. "You show pictures of our pain and call it proof. Yet where are the pictures of your own past? Where are the records of wars fought by council members? Where are the lists of worlds left empty because of decisions made in this very room?" The chamber grew even quieter. A cold feeling spread among many delegates. They knew some truths had been hidden for a long time. They knew old wounds still existed between species. Elena took one small step closer to the center. Her voice stayed calm and even. "You want to limit our ships. You want to place watchers above our homes. You want to decide our future, all because you think we are dangerous to ourselves. But look around this room. Look at the faces that agree with you. Some of those faces belong to species that once burned entire systems. Some belong to ones who spread silent sickness to control numbers. Some belong to ones who tested weapons that tore holes in space itself. And yet here they sit. Free, unwatched, trusted." Elena paused and let her words settle deep. Then she asked her question once more. "So I ask again, protection from who?" This time no one answered right away. The silence stretched long and thick. Delegates stared at their own hands or at the floor. Vexlara stood frozen with her crystal arms half raised. In that moment the crystal spire felt smaller. The bright light felt colder. And every being in the room understood one simple truth. The humans had just drawn a line. They would not step back across it easily. Elena remained standing. She looked at no one and at everyone. She waited for the next move. The council had started this day thinking they held all the power. Now they felt something shift beneath them. Something small but very strong had entered their perfect chamber, and it refused to bow. The session would continue, but nothing would feel the same again. Vexlara recovered first. Her crystal body flashed bright orange for a moment, which showed surprise and anger. She straightened her tall, thin form and spoke again in her smooth, calm voice. "From yourselves, Ambassador Voss, your history is a long story of self-destruction. Your people fight over land, over beliefs, over nothing at all. You poison your own air and water. You build weapons that can end all life on your world, many times over. We offer a shield against that madness." Elena tilted her head just a little, as if listening to a quiet sound far away. She did not look angry. She looked thoughtful. Then she raised one hand and touched a small flat device on her wrist. A large, clear image appeared in the air above the center of the chamber. It was not pictures of human wars this time. It was a simple list, written in clean white letters, that every delegate could read, no matter what language they used. Dates and names and short descriptions. Everyone could see it clearly. 214 years ago, the Khazari extermination wars began. A group of species, led by 3 current council members, attacked 12 peaceful worlds. They used fire from the sky to burn cities and forests. They left nothing alive on those planets. The council called it a necessary border action. No one was punished. 87 years ago, the Anshari Directorate released a silent plague. It was a sickness made in secret labs. It made whole populations unable to have children. 9 billion beings died before it stopped. The ones who made it sat on this council. They said it was to balance resources. No one faced justice. 41 years ago, the Veil Breach happened. A senior member tested a weapon that bent reality itself. The test went wrong. A tear opened in space. 3 moons with cities and farms vanished into nothing. The council blamed strange solar activity. They hid the truth. They rewarded the ones who caused it with higher seats. Elena let the list stay in the air for a long time. She spoke again in the same quiet voice. These are not single mistakes. These are habits. This council has protected the strong from facing their own actions for many years. Now you want to protect the one species that never signed your secret deals. The one species that never asked for your mercy. The one species that never needed your chains. A low rumble started in the back rows. The sharp-toothed predator species leaned forward. Their eyes gleamed with sudden interest. They had always seen humans as weak prey. Now they saw something else. Something that might bite back. The soft-furred delegates looked nervous. They moved their tails and ears in quick jerks. The bird people folded their wings tight against their bodies. Vexlara raised both arms high. Her crystal skin turned deep red, which meant she felt challenged. This list is old history, she said. We have learned. We have grown wiser. The concordance brings peace now. We cannot be judged by past errors when we offer help today. Elena smiled just a small amount. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew the next card to play. She touched her wrist device again. More lines appeared below the first ones. 32 years ago, a trade dispute turned into blockade. One council species starved another into surrender. Children died by the thousands. No apology came. 19 years ago, a mining world rebelled against unfair taxes. Council ships dropped kinetic rods from orbit. The surface became glass in minutes. The leaders who ordered it still vote here. 12 years ago, a border station vanished, later found empty, with signs of boarding and removal. The council said pirates did it. Evidence pointed to a member fleet. No investigation followed. Elena stopped the list there. She looked straight at Vexlara. You speak of learning, she said, yet the learning seems one-sided. You limit others while you keep your full strength. You watch the weak, while the strong watch nothing. You call it peace, we call it control. A sharp clicking sound came from the insect delegates. It was their way of laughing or arguing. No one knew which this time. The floating jelly-like beings pulsed with soft purple light, which showed confusion. The plant species rustled their leaves in worry. One tall, scaled delegate from the rim worlds stood up. His voice was deep and rough. The human speaks truth in parts. We remember the Khazari wars. Our world lost 3 colonies in them, yet we sit here with the same ones. Who burned them? Why should we trust this protection now? Another delegate, a small feathered one with bright yellow crest, stood next. Her voice was high and quick. The Anshari plague touched our outposts. We lost families. The Makers still hold power. If they can do that to us, why trust them with humans? More voices joined. Not loud shouts, but steady questions. The chamber filled with a growing wave of doubt. Vexlara tried to speak over it. Her crystal arms waved for silence. This is not the time for old grudges. We discuss the future of a dangerous young species. Elena raised her hand again, not high, just enough to be seen. The room quieted fast. Everyone wanted to hear what she would say next. Dangerous, she repeated. You use that word often. Yet your own records show who holds the real danger. Not the species that fights to survive on a death world. Not the species that reach the stars without help. Not the species that never glassed a planet or spread a plague. The danger sits in these seats. The ones who write rules for others, but not for themselves. She paused and looked around slowly. Her eyes met many different kinds. Some looked away. Some stared back, hard. If you vote for this protection, she continued, know what you vote for. You vote to cage the only ones who have never played your game. You vote to weaken the only ones who might one day stop your next mistake. You vote to keep the same patterns alive. Because without us asking hard questions, who will? The silence returned. This time it felt different. Heavy with thought. Heavy with memory. Vexlara stood still. Her color shifted slowly, from red to pale gray. She had no quick answer now. The other delegates looked at their own hands, or at the glowing list still floating in the air. They remembered things they had tried to forget. They remembered promises broken. They remembered worlds lost. And they remembered that humans had never done those things to them. Elena stayed where she was. She did not push more words. She let the truth sit among them like a stone dropped in still water. The ripples spread wide. No one could ignore them now. The council had come to decide the fate of humans. Instead, they found themselves looking at their own reflection, and the reflection was not kind. The session would go on. Votes would come later, but something had changed in the crystal spire that day. A small human woman had asked one question, and the answer was starting to form in every mind present. It was not the answer the council wanted. It was the answer the galaxy needed. Elena sat down again, her face calm once more. She had said what needed. Saying, now the others would have to face what came next. The bright light still shone. The walls still sparkled, but the air felt thicker. The future felt less certain. And for the first time, in many cycles, the powerful ones felt a small, cold touch of doubt. It was only the beginning. The council chamber stayed quiet for a long moment after Elena finished speaking. Delegates looked at each other with uncertain faces. Some wanted to end the session right there. Others wanted answers. Vexlara raised her crystal arms once more. Her color shifted back to steady blue, which showed she tried to regain control. She spoke in a firm voice. Words alone prove nothing, Ambassador Voss. We need facts. We need proof. If humans are not the danger you claim, then show us. Prove your people can handle the galaxy without our help. Elena nodded slowly, as if she had expected those words. She answered without anger. I agree to a demonstration. One human ship against your standard training course. The threat corridor used for all new species cadets. Let your observers watch. Let your systems judge. If we fail, then talk of protection can continue. If we succeed, then this petition ends. Here. Murmurs rose again. Many delegates liked the idea. They wanted to see humans humbled. They wanted clear proof, one way or the other. The predatory species smiled wider. They thought one small ship would break fast. The gentle ones looked worried. They did not like tests that could end in shame. Vexlara agreed quickly. Very well, she said. The UNS Defiant will enter the corridor tomorrow at the set time. All council members may observe from the secure viewing deck. Safety protocols will stay active. No real weapons, only training rounds. The ship will face drones, mines, and simulated attackers. Standard difficulty for a new member species. We expect a fair showing. Elena stood. Her face showed nothing. We will be ready, she said. Then she walked out of the chamber. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. The next day, the viewing deck filled early. Crowded the wide windows that looked out into empty space. Bright screens showed every angle of the threat corridor. It was a long stretch of marked space near Aloria, filled with moving drones that shot training lasers, mines that floated and waited to explode on contact, holographic ships that appeared suddenly and fired back. The course tested speed, aim, and smart thinking. Most new species lasted 10 to 15 minutes before their ship shut down from too many hits. Some failed in 5. The Council expected the same or worse from humans. The UNS Defiant appeared on the screens. It was an old ship, only 30 years in service, small compared to Council cruisers. Its hull looked plain gray, with some dark patches from old repairs. No bright colors, no fancy shapes. Just a boxy, tough-looking vessel built for work, not show. Delegates laughed quietly. Some pointed at the screen. Called it a relic. They said it would not last long. Elena sat in the front row. She watched the screens calmly. Beside her sat Captain Marcus Hale, commander of the Defiant. He was a tall man with short gray hair and steady eyes. He wore the same plain uniform as Elena. He said nothing. He just watched his ship move into position. The course started. A warning tone sounded. Red lights flashed along the corridor edges. The first wave came fast. Small, fast drones rushed in from all sides. They fired bright training beams that would count as hits if they touched the ship. The Defiant did not run straight. It twisted hard to the side. Thrusters fired in short bursts that looked random. But every move dodged a beam. The ship rolled and spun like it danced. Drones tried to follow. Some crashed into each other when the Defiant slipped between them. Then, the ship answered. Small railguns along its sides spoke. Not loud blasts, quick, sharp shots. Each one hit a drone's center. The drones broke apart in silent flashes. More came. The Defiant used the broken pieces as shields. It pushed debris ahead like a plow. When mines woke up and drifted close, the ship dropped tiny clouds of its own micro-drones. The micro-drones met the mines and exploded together. Clear paths opened where none should be. Delegates stopped laughing. They leaned closer to the screens. Some whispered. Others made quick notes. The holographic attackers appeared next. First, a small group of fighter shapes. They flew in tight formation. They fired heavy simulated beams. The Defiant turned its nose straight at them. It accelerated hard, not away, toward them. At the last moment it veered. It passed so close that one fighter hologram clipped the edge and vanished in a red failure mark. The Defiant spun again. Its rear guns fired backward while it moved forward. 2 more holograms broke. The rest scattered. Then the bigger threat came. A full Khazari battle group simulation. 10 large ships, heavy armor, strong weapons. They formed a wall and advanced. The viewing deck went completely silent. Everyone knew this part ended most runs. The Defiant did not slow. It kept its strange twisting path. It used every bit of space junk left from earlier fights. It hid behind drifting metal. It popped out, fired once, then hit again. Railguns punched through weak spots. Not random shots. Exact hits on engines and weapon mounts. One by one, the big holograms lost power. They drifted helpless. The last one, the command ship, turned to ram. The Defiant matched speed. It flew straight at the huge shape. At point-blank range it fired everything. Then it turned sharp and pushed its fusion torch flame right into the command core. The hologram flashed bright red. Failure warnings spread across every screen. The course ended. 11 minutes total. The Defiant floated untouched. No red hit marks on its hull. Only training limits kept it from real damage. The viewing deck stayed quiet for a long breath. Then, voices exploded. Some cheered. Some argued. Some sat stunned. The predatory delegates looked angry. They had wanted easy prey. Now they saw hunters. The gentle ones looked relieved. Vexlara stood. Her crystal body flashed many colors at once. She could not hide her shock. Elena rose slowly. She turned to face the room. Her voice carried clear and calm. That was with training rounds and safety locks. Our real ships fly without those limits. Our real doctrine assumes the enemy wants us dead. So we make sure they die first. Captain Hale stood beside her. He spoke for the first time, his voice deep and steady. The Defiant is one of our older ships. We have newer ones. We have bigger ones. We have ones built just for war if needed. But we prefer peace. We prefer trade. We prefer friends. Yet if you force our hand, we will answer. The room felt smaller now. The bright lights seemed less friendly. Delegates remembered the list from before. They remembered the question Elena asked. Protection from who? Now they saw what humans protected themselves from every day. They saw skill born from need. They saw strength born from survival. Vexlara tried to speak. Her words came slow. This changes nothing, she said. One ship proves little. We still see danger in your nature. Elena looked at her directly. One ship proved enough, she answered. Enough to show we do not need your watchers. Enough to show we can handle your tests. Enough to show your protection is not kindness. It is fear. Fear of what happens when the young stop being young. Fear of what happens when the controlled stop obeying. Fear of what happens when someone asks the hard questions and refuses easy answers. She paused. She let those words sink in. Then she added one more thing. The demonstration is over. The choice is yours now. The council can vote to cage us, or it can vote to let us walk free. But know this, we will walk either way, and if you choose chains, remember who taught us how to break them. Elena turned and left the viewing deck. Captain Hale followed. Behind them the delegates talked fast. Voices rose higher. Arguments started. Doubt grew stronger. The test was meant to show human weakness. Showed their strength. The test was meant to justify control. Instead, it questioned the controllers. The crystal spire felt different now. The air tasted sharper. The future looked less certain. And in every mind present, one thought repeated. The humans had passed the test, but the council had just failed theirs. The viewing deck emptied slowly after the demonstration ended. Delegates walked out in small groups. They talked in low voices. Some looked excited. Some looked afraid. Some looked like they had seen something they could never forget. The Crystal Spire session hall filled again the next day. Everyone returned for the final vote. The air felt thick with waiting. Bright lights still shone from the walls, but the sparkles seemed less cheerful now. Vexlara stood at the center podium once more. Her crystal body stayed pale blue. She tried to look calm and in charge. She spoke first. The Protectorate Initiative stands before you, she said. We have seen the human demonstration. We have heard their words. Yet the question remains, are humans ready for full freedom in our galaxy? Their strength shown today only proves they need limits more than ever. A strong child can hurt others without meaning to. A strong child can break things that take ages to build. We offer guidance, not chains. We offer safety, not punishment. Vote yes for the petition. Vote to protect the galaxy from what humans might become. Many delegates nodded at first. The old habits of control died hard. But the nodding stopped when others began to speak. A tall, scaled delegate from the Rim world stood. His voice rumbled deep. I remember the Khazari Wars. My people lost much. The ones who led those wars sit here today. They vote on protection now. If we cage humans who have done us no harm, what stops them from caging us later? He sat down. A small feathered delegate rose next. Her crest stood straight with anger. The Anshari plague took my kin. The makers never face trial. They write rules for others. Humans ask hard questions. Humans show mirrors to our faces. I vote no. Voices joined, one after another. Delegates from worlds that had suffered in silence spoke up. They spoke of hidden attacks, of broken promises, of council ships that arrived too late, or not at all. They spoke of how humans had traded fairly, how humans had helped rebuild after disasters, how humans never asked for thanks. The predatory species stayed quiet at first. Then one of them, a sharp-toothed being with black scales, spoke. His voice hissed low. We thought humans weak. We thought them easy to control. Now we see teeth behind the smile. A caged hunter bites harder when it breaks free. Better to let them walk free than force a fight we might lose. His words surprised many, but others in his group nodded. They had seen the defiant dance through death. They knew what real war looked like when humans fought it. The vote began. Names flashed on huge screens, appeared in red. No votes in green. Abstains in gray. At first, red numbers climbed. Then green started to catch up. Faster and faster. Delegates watched in silence. Some changed their votes at the last moment. The final tally appeared. The Protectorate initiative failed. Not by a small amount, by a wide margin. The chamber filled with noise. Not cheers exactly, more like relieved breaths. Some clapped hands or wings or claws. Others sat stunned. Vexlara stood frozen. Her crystal skin flickered through many colors. She could not hide the shock. She tried to speak. This vote can be challenged, she began. Elena stood from her seat. She walked to the center slowly. Every eye followed her. She stopped in front of Vexlara. Her voice stayed quiet but clear. The vote is done, she said. The petition is over. Humans remain free. At her. Why resist help, she asked. Why choose danger over safety? Elena met her gaze without blinking. Because we have seen your help before. We read the hidden reports. We buried our people killed by your civilized weapons. We learned the hardest lesson. The galaxy does not need saving from humans. It needs saving from those who decide who needs saving. She paused. She looked around the room. If you ever bring this idea again, remember one thing. We did not ask permission to survive our own world. We will not ask permission to survive yours. Elena turned away. She walked back to her seat. The chamber stayed quiet after that. No one wanted to speak first. No one wanted to be the next to face hard questions. Days passed. The council moved on to other matters. Trade deals, border disputes, resource shares. But something had changed. Carefully now. They watched each other more closely. They remembered the list Elena showed. They remembered the defiant in the corridor. They remembered one human woman who stood small but unbowed. Months later, quiet reports began to spread. Not official ones, just whispers in back halls. Human ships appeared in systems marked for quiet council control. They did not attack. They did not demand. They simply arrived. Sometimes they brought food and medicine to struggling colonies. Sometimes they warned of hidden dangers. Sometimes they just watched. Then they left. No protests filed, no complaints made, because everyone knew what would happen if they tried. A new phrase started in diplomatic messages. It passed from one aide to another. Do not make the humans ask the question again, because if they did, No one wanted to give the answer. Peace. Not perfect peace, but better than before. Humanity kept its freedom. Not given, earned. And on Earth, in a small office with plain walls, Ambassador Elena Voss wrote her latest report. She used simple words, no fancy language, just the truth. Status, she wrote. Still not the ones who need protecting. She sent the report. Then she looked out her window at the night sky. Stars shone bright. She smiled a small smile. The Council had tried to wrap humans in soft chains. Instead, they had reminded the galaxy why some chains should never be forged, and why some questions should never need asking twice. The story did not end there. It never does. But for now, the line stayed drawn, and no one crossed it. Months passed after the vote in the Crystal Spire. The galaxy tried to return to normal ways. Trade ships moved between stars again. Diplomats met in quiet rooms. Borders stayed calm on most maps. Yet something new moved beneath the surface. Quiet reports started to appear in secure channels. Not loud announcements, just short messages passed between trusted aides. Human vessels showed up in places no one expected. They arrived without warning. They left without fanfare. One report came from the edge of Inshari space. A mining colony there struggled after a bad storm season. Food ran low, tools broke, help from the Council came slow as always. Then a human freighter appeared in orbit. It carried grain seeds and repair parts. The captain spoke to the colony leader by simple hololink. "We heard you needed aid," he said. "We brought what we could. No payment asked." Treaty signed. The colony took the supplies. The humans left the next day. No council stamp approved the visit. No protest filed. Another report came from a neutral system near the rim. A small research station had gone silent. Scans showed damage from unknown weapons. Council ships were too far to respond fast. A human scout ship arrived first. It sent repair teams in suits. They fixed the hull breaches. They restored power. They found data logs that pointed to a hidden raider group. The humans shared the logs with the station crew. Then they tracked the raiders to a nearby asteroid belt. No battle followed. The raiders received a single tight beam message. "Leave this sector. Do not return." The raiders left. The scout ship vanished soon after. Again, no official record entered council files. Whispers grew louder in back corridors. Assistants talked while they carried data pads. Junior diplomats shared stories over quiet meals. They spoke of human ships that appeared like ghosts. They helped where needed. They warned where trouble brewed. They never stayed long enough to claim territory. They never demanded loyalty. Yet their presence changed things. Species that once ignored weak colonies now sent aid faster. Raiders thought twice before hitting easy targets. Old grudges softened when humans mediated without taking sides. The predatory blocks watched closest. They sent scouts to follow human movements. They found nothing to attack. No fleets massed. No bases built in secret. Just single ships or small groups. Always ready. Always gone before anyone could challenge them. One day a young Lyrathi aide approached Vexlara in a private hall. The aide looked nervous. Her crystal skin flickered pale green. She spoke softly. "More reports arrive. Ambassador. Humans in the Vale sector again. They delivered medical supplies to a world hit by plague. The same plague type the Inshari once used." Vexlara stared at the wall for a long time. Her color stayed dull gray. She finally answered. "They remind us. Every time they appear. They remind us what we tried to do, and what we failed to do." The aide nodded once. She left without another word. Vexlara stood alone. She remembered the day in the chamber. She remembered the question Elena asked. Protection from who? Now the answer echoed in empty halls. From ourselves. From the ones who sit in high seats. From the ones who write rules that bind others but not themselves. from the ones who fear questions more than weapons. Time moved on. Years turned into cycles. The Protectorate Initiative became old history, mentioned rarely, mostly in training classes for new diplomats. Teachers showed the old recordings. They showed the list Elena presented. They showed the defiant in the corridor. They showed one human woman standing small against 300 species. They taught a simple lesson. Power does not always come from size. Power comes from refusing to bend when others expect you to break. And in quiet moments, teachers added one more thing. Do not make the humans ask the question again, because the answer might not come in words next time. On Earth, Ambassador Elena Voss still worked in her small office. The walls stayed plain. The desk stayed simple. She read reports from far systems. She smiled at some, she frowned at others. She wrote replies in clear, basic words. One evening she looked up at the stars through her window. A new ship prepared to leave orbit. It carried supplies to a distant colony. Conquest. Only tools for help. Elena thought about the council. She thought about Vexlara. She thought about the vote that changed everything. She leaned back in her chair. She spoke to the empty room. They wanted to protect us. Now they protect themselves from their own past, by letting us walk free. She stood. She walked to the window. She placed one hand on the cool glass. The stars looked close. They looked welcoming. She turned back to her desk. She opened a new file. She wrote one line at the top. Status update. Still not the ones who need protecting. She saved the file. She sent it to the diplomatic archive. Then she shut down the lights. She left the office. Outside, the night air felt fresh. People walked streets below. They laughed. They talked. They lived normal lives. None of them knew how close the galaxy came to changing their future. None of them needed to know, because the ones who did know chose to keep the peace. And the humans, who never asked for guardians, kept watch in their own quiet way. The story did not end. Stories like this never end. They just change shape. They become lessons. They become warnings. They become reasons to choose better paths. And somewhere in the wide dark between stars, a human ship moved silent and steady. It carried no flag of conquest, only the promise of questions asked when needed, and answers given when forced. The galaxy turned. It breathed. It learned, slowly, carefully, to live with the ones who refused chains, and to never forget the woman who asked one simple question that changed everything.